Good morning. Welcome back to Who Am I? Who am I? It's gonna become a really interesting question. The day is November 6th, and it is post-election day. And somehow the authoritarian dictator wannabe has won the election. And I think that things are going to be very much different here in the United States and all over the world. And so, actually, I think my work becomes even more important, oddly. And life gets so much more real. And actually, the question here is, who are we? Why did we just do that? We're not gonna like what we get. It's gonna play out for a... Who am I? Who am I? All right. Let's see if I can try to hold to the... See, I happen to be a student, not a student, that's the wrong... It's not that I like the guy. I do not like Hitler. But I am fascinated by that whole scenario, the whole phenomenon, the whole dictator slash cult leader slash who the hell are we and why does the flock keep doing that with the leader? Why does that keep happening? What are the energies that are flowing here? And I've been saying this all year. It's just now that all of a sudden he just won and life gets more in our face. But I was struck by something this morning. I have to take the same dispassionate, wise position just because, something happened different. Things are always getting better. Things are always getting better. Things are always getting better. Except for when we get in the way of our own prosperity and let our own fear rule the day. See, the problem with Harris on the one side was that she did not accurately and adequately stand for democracy. And this is really ironic because that was her message. She was a perk and purty girl. She was pleasant. She was running for the figurehead, basically, of the country because that's all she was going to be. She didn't have a massive wave of democracy behind her. If she had, we would have had more say in why was the vice president the de facto candidate for the Democratic Party without any other say-so. It was like everybody was so afraid of Trump that they didn't act fully in they didn't act in full democracy. And I was pissed. I was pissed at first when she was like, everybody was like, it's just Kamala, it's Kamala, it's Kamala, it's Kamala, it's Kamala. And I didn't really care who she was. I knew that she was the only thing standing between us and the guy who was frothing at the mouth to be freaking dictator. And at first, I was willing to be pouty about it because I still thought there was a chance that they might ask us who we wanted. Who do we want? And quite frankly, I don't know who we would have wanted anyway. Is there anybody that they... She didn't stand for democracy. Even though it got to be where she was standing for democracy because it was against... She was the antithesis of the dictator authoritarian. And so she stood for democracy, whether she did or not. And we just let democracy lose at the ballot box. So, the interesting thing is that so I'm gonna say my warnings, and then I'm going to go transition into how this all is gonna relate to our lives going forward. And I am going to persist in not watching the news because there's news. I'm gonna have a hard time keeping it out. I don't want the news coming at me from any direction other than my own direction. I don't want it coming. I want the grid to fill in as it will, based on what kind of state of being about this that I can achieve. Because I'll tell you what the answer is. The answer is don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. The Romans have just won the election. And we are all out here in Palestine trying to... Excuse me. Now, if it really was 2,000 years ago, we would have been getting the message from a man walking barefoot around the area, you know. I don't know, he was barefoot. He probably had sandals. Why did I say barefoot? I'm having this vision of poverty. That's what happened. I got this vibration of, you know, he's poor and he's wandering the countryside with his message of love and peace, and everyone is taking care of him. He's probably not poor at all. He eats at everybody would be honored to have this man at their dinner table. Well, now it's all of us. It's the Christ in all of us has to just not be afraid. And love and peace is still the message. But you got to know, the Nazis just won the election. And I know they aren't Nazis. They aren't Nazis, but what they are is they are right-wing authoritarian dictatorship wannabes. And they are going to try at least. Oh, you know what? I don't even know. Let's see what if the Senate is there or the House. Oh my gosh. Oh dear. Let me go look because I really don't know what happened in the House and Senate. Ooh. Hold on. Oh my God. The news is breathtaking. The right wing won the House, the Senate, and the White House. And so there is no checks and balances anymore. He can do whatever he wants. And the Senate's going to back him up, and the House is going to back him up. Well, I had a... Oh my gosh, I think I might faint. Who am I? All right, so... This is very interesting, you know? I'm going to have to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to have to put my life where what I've been saying, there is no us and them, when there's obviously an us and them. You know? Quite frankly, we have to ask ourselves who we are. From where comes our identity? I'll tell you what, a lot of it comes from our national identity is a lot of this. And the notion that the right-wing authoritarian dictatorship just won the control of all arms of the American government takes my breath away just a little bit. Now, According to my calculations, everybody is right about something. So I've got to figure out what is right about this so that I can stand on that point of rightness while I criticize everything that's wrong about it. Because you can't just stand on nothing and say that they're just wrong, and try to negate them altogether. That's not going to work. They won't be negated. Something has just happened. Who are we? Who are we? Who are we in reference to source energy? I always ask. I'll tell you what we need to watch out for is our own negative reaction about what just happened. Because that could very well be our own beating the drum of how awful that is, or how frightened we are, or how bad you people are, or how hard this is going to be. That is going to bring us down. We need to be very, very careful about that, because we could bring it down, pointing at them, saying, oh, how bad you are. And then in our negative stream, in our actions of fear or anger or whatever, we get a good opportunity here to illustrate the principles that I've been talking about all year, about states of being and who we are as human beings is going to be illustrated really, really, really big and loud right in front of us. In a really big way. And a number of things are going to be illustrated to us. One is that the world is vibrational, and we can depend on spirit, not law. If we would depend on spirit and not law, part of what's coming down the pike is total corporate control, because it's just like historian Michael Beschloss was saying. It's not that the people won't write the novels anymore. It's that the publishers won't publish them anymore. The ones who are the billionaires who own the publishing houses won't publish them anymore. You know, I think that I still think we're going to be okay. I think we have a few harsh lessons to learn here. And I think that they all go to the lesson of who are we? Who are we? Who are we? Who are we? I still think that's the lesson. And the problem with Trump is, and I've been pussyfooting around this, and probably nobody should be pussyfooting around this. His problem is the energetic position from which he comes from, the emotional position from which he comes from. And I just noticed this the other day. He seeks power, 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 power. Actually, this might be a give unto Caesar that which is Caesar's moment, and give unto God that which is God's moment. In the sense that we recognize at this moment that that we are vibrational. It's vibrational, not law-based. Our structure, basic structure all around us, is coalescing into being because of basic vibration, and then the vibration brings right behind it form. That's why we say the form is secondary, the vibration is primary. So, Bashar says, no matter what the physical condition that happens in front of you, no matter what the condition, take from it a positive what? A positive, what is the word? Perspective? Outcome? What is it? You yourself, well, this is how I say it. You yourself stay positive no matter what has just happened. So this is going to be interesting. How do the jokesters joke about this tonight on The Tonight Show and The Late Show and all of the... Because what has just happened? So let's be careful about how much power we give it. The problem is the momentum of our government structure. The government is who we are collectively. And he just got elected to the top of who we are collectively, or who the personality that the rest of the world sees. He's going to go make nicey nice with all of the dictators all over the world. This is going to be hard to spin this. Well, I'll tell you what. It's not good. It's not good on the one hand, and yet things are always working out for me. And so how on earth am I going to spin this so that things are always working out for me? Well, maybe people are going to start getting more spiritual. Maybe they're going to start, searching for answers. Actually, they are. And the problem is that they're not going to find me. They're going to find somebody else who's going to tell them some sort of superstitious nonsense, possibly. Or they're going to resonate with some angry... Well, this is going to give me an opportunity to point out what's happening. And how the nature of the universe relates to the nature of psychology, relates to the nature of us. This is what it's going to do, but I'm going to have to stay kind of not really overly specific about certain things. There is a big general that's going to be flying past my face here, and I need to clearly see what it is when it happens. I'm talking to myself. Did you know that? For the past year, I've been practicing talking to myself. And so right now, I am talking to myself. After all, my show is Stream of Consciousness. And I am the consciousness it's streaming through. And I'm just a little freaked out. Because I've got to really, 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 really step up. Step up and not be afraid. Don't be afraid. Even though there's plenty to be afraid of right now. Wow. It's not going to hum along on its own, just nice and pure. I think that the problem is that we don't know who we are. And so we are not intentionally understanding ourselves, understanding each other, writing laws accordingly, relating to each other accordingly, lining up economically accordingly. The problem with the fact that he just got elected president is now the oil companies are probably going to go up and drill in the freaking whatever that forest is, the Tsonga forest, up in, unless it's Tsongas. It's one of the two, Tsonga, because the United States owns land up there supposed to be set aside for the people, but instead it's going to be set aside for the big fascist aspect of us to go up there and suck the oil out of it for us to continue on our merry fossil fuel way. That kind of thing sort of freaks me out. Which means I really need to step up my game. I would like millions of people to listen to what I have to say about who we are. Unconditionally. I'm talking unconditionally about who we are. I'm not talking about who my tribe is and who their tribe is. Although, when it adds to the frame of who we all are collectively as humanity, I will state specifics, but it's not comparative specifics, us against them. Never, ever, 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 ever. We have to get off that. Although right now, oh my gosh, the us's and them's, could it be the conservatives and the progressives are an us and them? Now the United States and, some other countries are going to be us and them. And then it's going to be, oh, wow. The ideologues on this side is the them or the us. Don't you know, it's the polarity in the field, people. It's the polarity in the field. We have to understand who we are as a quantum field phenomenon. And I don't just say those words off the top of my head just because they're alliterative. Partially alliterative. And then the other word is that Q word that whenever you use it, you sound smart. No. I say it because we affect one another. We are more than just the bodies that we inhabit. We are a field around ourselves. Where we are on the grid and where we are moving to in the universe on the grid, it's like a single grid. And this single grid, depending on how you're moving, time looks like different things. And it's a multiverse. Too, by the way, a multiverse, according to Bashar. And I've tried to believe this, and I kind of believe it, but I don't know it yet for sure. But what he says, what I mean by I don't know it is I haven't fully assimilated an understanding of this phenomenon into how it bakes into my specific. Could I have just lived a universe where this didn't just happen? Or did it happen because I have made myself supremely ready for this moment? Is this why I was so fascinated with the concept? Because it's like, oh my God, part of me as a child and from what seemed like a really, really far distance was fascinated by this, but from a real standpoint, thought to myself, hey, this is real. This is bad. We don't ever want to do this again. And here we are in this moment, although it isn't the same moment, because we are not the same people. And we have input from so many other sources rather than just the one source we ever had. The one news source that, or if it wasn't just one, it was just a few, a network or two or three, a few newspapers, a radio station. We didn't even have television when the last war situation went down. Now, I'm not saying Hitler's not I don't mean Hitler. Ooh, faux pas. Trump, that was a Freudian slip, huh? Trump is not Hitler. And Trump, as far as I know, does not have visions of world conquest. I've never heard him say that. Has anybody ever heard him say that? Did anybody ever hear Hitler say that before? He kind of had... Trump actually won a lot of people over because he's been claiming that he's going to stop giving to the wars and here and there, and he's going to quit. Maybe he's making a deal with Putin. Hey, I'll let you have Ukraine, and you let me, tell I don't know. I have no idea what's going on. I don't know. And in the conditionally and specifically, you can look at things going on, but it's a tricky situation when you have to stay positive and you're looking at the Holocaust. How do you stay positive about a thing like that is so screamingly negative? Well, you stand back from it and you try to understand what that was. It was a momentum of a storm of chaos. And that storm of chaos started as sort of a storm of organization. The people of Germany handed over the keys of power to a man who said terrible things all the time about what he wanted to do. And I think the difference is the people who don't like Trump never listened to Trump. And the people... And so they weren't sufficiently alarmed or informed about what he said. I actually never actively went to try to find what he said, but I knew I didn't like him in general, and so I thought, why do I need to listen to him? Well, now I know why. Now, should I have listened to him? I don't know. I'm so confused. Let's talk about who we are instead. Let's talk about who we are, because that doesn't change. No matter what just happened to us out there in the, I'm air quoting, real world, no matter what just happened, the things that I talk about every day are still valid. They are still the same. We are still extensions of source energy. And that's why, actually, we're going to need to be extra vigilant. And I'm not talking about being vigilant about other people. Don't go out there and be vigilant about your neighbor. What you need to go out there and do is be vigilant about your own self, in your own heart. Now, I'm going to tell you this right now. I am going to push against no one. I am pushing against no one. I offer no one resistance. No resistance whatsoever. And as a matter of fact, you know what? Jesus did not offer anybody any physical resistance, no conditional resistance. The resistance that he gave them is while he saw that they were hating him and punishing him according to their laws, or indifferently, the people who nailed him up probably did that, 100 times a day. The Romans were really ruthless, very brutal. We have just been overtaken by Caesar has just won the Senate, the House, and the Empire. That is what has just happened. And the reason it just happened is because that's what always happens. We elect these different people, or they come to power without election, or however it happens, and we get our pharaoh, or we get our king, or we get our emperor, or president now apparently has the same kind of whatever. And I think the answer here still is we need to understand who we are. We need to understand who we are as human beings on this planet. So that we walk softly onto this planet. And you know what? So now, collectively, as America, we are this rather harsh spirit. And how do you fight back against the harsh spirit? Well, resistance is futile. I'll tell you that right now. Resistance itself is the problem. Resistance to life, resistance to the calling of your inner being, your own belief that it has to be hard, hard, hard. And now the dictator just won the election. That proves it, right? Well, no, not necessarily. Our reaction to it is everything. And exactly what is that reaction going to be? Well, I don't know. What my reaction is going to be is I know that the stakes of the game just got a lot higher. For me to stay in my proper alignment, in my positive spirit, in my non-resistant attitude, in my unconditional way, and talk intelligently about who we are and how this understanding is going to help us handle that reality that just happened to us, well, that's going to be my challenge, and I relish it. You go find what your challenge is going to be. But whatever it is, if it's going to truly, truly benefit the planet and humanity, it is going to be in a good humor, in the proper spirit. It is your vibrational state of being, your emotional state of being that you find yourself in at all times is the most important thing. And what do I mean at all times? You can vary some, but are you generally an optimistic person? A happy person? And there's a whole lot of people who just turn negative, but they're going to blame Trump. They're going to blame Trump for their own negativity. But the problem is, see, they're not wrong in a way, because I'm a student of Hitler. I can see the correlation. I can see that, and I'm like, oh, that's terrible. This is terrible. We don't want this. We didn't want that to happen. The problem is all of the people who light their hair on fire and run out into the street screaming about it, even though in a way they're right. In a way, their hair on fire is going to light fires in the street and cause the whole world to burn down, and it's not all going to be Trump's fault. It's going to be the people who went negative because they were so afraid. This is what the problem is, people. This is what the World War Project last century was. Parts 1 and 2. Actually, yes, parts 1 and 2. This is what the War Project last century was. When the predominant population of the world turned in an us and them manner, looking at one another as us versus them, and then in fear or anger act. That's the problem. That's the problem. And the way we were able to be rounded up in a great big clumpy group like that in order to act collectively negative was because there wasn't a lot of media around. There was newspapers and the beginnings of radio. There was radio. There was newspapers. And there wasn't much radio when World War I. Was there even radio when World War I started? There was barely any aircraft. There was radio. Marconi had done his thing in the 1800s, I guess. And we had Morse code. News could travel around the world, but it took a bit of time, and newspapers was how most people got the news, and that assimilates in a space of time. Something happens, and then we all hear about it, and then we all feel about it, think about it, talk about it, decide to act on it. The timing takes longer now than it did now. There wasn't many media sources. You had movies. Those were fairly new. Those were really, really new at the beginning of World War I. Staying pretty new all the way through World War I till the end. We didn't even get talkies until late in the 1920s, I think. So why am I saying this? Why do I find this interesting? Because we started through our recreational activity. Now, we did radio and television and movies and stuff because it's fun, because we find that entertaining. We find the internet entertaining, as a matter of fact, and most people spend a lot of time being entertained on the internet. And I think that we started madly doing this as a defense mechanism against groupthink. And right now, there isn't just one source of news. Everybody isn't running to MSNBC, or they might be. Some people are running to MSNBC. Some people are running to Fox News. Some people are running to their news feeds on their podcasts or their, I don't know, someday I want people to be tuning in to me. Not for the news, the latest news, but if it's big enough news, how to take that news. How to take this news. This one is a big one. This is a big one. This is a big, fat, lesson in who am I sandwich. is what this is. Who are we, sandwich? I think that every lesson that humanity learns up until the point where they get this one is all about this one. And this lesson can be harsh. This lesson went all the way to Holocaust last time. And we can't let it go that far this time. The perpetrators of the atrocities are human beings too, and what has happened to them is they are in a trance, an evil, wicked trance that they need to snap out of. And in their evil, wicked trance, they are projecting out to the outside world this evil that they perceive, and then they feel honor bound to eradicate it. So it's like a double whammy in the loss of them, because they are in this wicked trance, and then because of it, they are projecting outward this wickedness that they see in others, and they feel honor bound. Like, if you really study the psychology of what the Nazis tried to do, and how unpleasant they thought the whole business was, but they felt honor bound to finish it because of this wickedness within themselves that they projected out onto the Jews. The Jews didn't deserve it, not at all. Wow, I know that the things I say, they're going to be held so controversial. But let me say, once and for all, Trump is not Hitler. He isn't. He's a different form of it, okay? We don't want the Hitler form of it. We would recognize the Hitler form of it. But it's a different form of the same kind of thing. We just elected the mob boss who's gonna hand all of his cronies political power now. And all of the people who tried to bring them to justice in the first place, they're going to get revenge on through the same instruments of our state that we developed for kindly and collective purposes. We've got to understand this spirit thing before it overtakes us, before it gets to the point where, so I got the Milton Mayer quote about, we paid attention to the forms and the forms all stayed the same. And so nobody noticed when the spirit, changed underneath us. And we looked around, it was like everything was different because the spirit was different. It was all mean. It was all mean and ugly and unkind and cynical and blameful. Oh, so I had this brilliant epiphany yesterday about how Trump sees the world and how the smallness that he sees it big in a way. And he sees himself really small in a way. And you can tell because he does not realize how powerful a single individual could be without the arms of political power at their fingertips, because that's earthly power. And there's something to that, but it's not real power. It's not authentic power. Authentic power comes from alignment. It comes from alignment. Earthly power comes from this other thing. You could call it the dark side. And Darth Vader was right. There is power in the dark side. There is. But there's more power in the light side. And the fact is, the whole thing, all of reality out there is getting ready to play itself out in a very mythological kind of way. It really is. Because the world is way more mythological than we have been giving it credit for. And the object of the exercise, oh man, we're going to really have to rethink this. Each and every individual for themselves, by the way, has to rethink the object of the exercise. What is the object of the exercise? I think, well, the object of my exercise has always been to understand the movement of this field that I sense around me, that I know that I am a part of, that I am individually, that I have an individual relationship with, a one-on-one relationship with. I have a one-on-one relationship with this allness, this entity, this big, greater being, the everything outside of my skin kind of, there's me, and then there's everything that isn't me, and then there's the third me, which is actually both of those me's because both of them are me. The 1, 2, 3, it's actually the Holy Trinity. There's another way to look at that Holy Trinity, and that is the seeing the position, the perspective between the polarity, where you can see both points, becomes a triangle of blessed. That's how Bashar defines that, the Holy Trinity. There's a lot of ways that the Trinity comes up in kind of sacred, holy kinds of ways. So who am I, you might ask? Well, what I've always wanted to be, or I've wanted to be for the last number of years, but haven't quite figured out how to do it. I wanted to be a New Age preacher, whatever that was. Spread the word, spread the word. Who am I? Who are we? Because I think that that's the big lesson that history and reality and conditionality is forcing us to learn right now. But if we would get out ahead of that just a little bit and learn the lesson before the really harsh aspects of the lesson come crashing down on our physical lives, we could understand who we are and intentionally be ourselves and stand up for the proper vibration at the right moment and flow downstream into this not being such a harsh landing as it was last century. We really, really, really don't want to do that. That was a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. That we put ourselves through last century. And I don't think humanity is going to survive another round of that. But you know what? I don't hear Trump banging the drum of war. Sometimes I hear him banging the drum of pushing the weight of Western civilization around more than I think that he ought to. Because I come from a position where all individual parts are equally valuable and blessed, and what's really going to save us in the end ultimately is diversity and our not being as willing to collectively fall into anger and fear and act from that. Acting from your anger and fear based on your observation of conditions around you, even if you don't like them, still is the same problem. And when we all get together and do it together, that's a big problem. When we all get together and collectively act in anger and fear against some big enemy that we all agree on, the us and them, that's called war. And we do it all across the planet, and it's called World War. And we did it, we had 2 sessions of it last century, although they both were part of the same event. One was sort of, let's see how many years. There was like a 20-year hiatus from the actual hot action, although he started pretty quickly building up to the hot action, arming and training and, making Germany great again. They did talk about that. Make Germany great again. Make Germany great again. And, she'll kick everybody's ass. You know, she's the greatest nation on the earth, and, you know, she's the master race, and all the other shithole countries need to... Oy, oy vey. I'm back to reality again. This is going to be a trick for me. This is going to be a trick for me because I want to be a New Age preacher. I want to talk to us about who we are because I do believe in my... all the way down to the soles of my feet that this is what the problem is. We do not understand who we are. Enough people did not watch So You Want to Be a Tyrant. Trump probably watched So You Want to Be a Tyrant, you know? And he took the playbook. They gave you the playbook. And it was supposed to be facetious, and it was supposed to be to arm the public so that they understood the playbook that was happening and could act against it. But you know what? Somehow this must still all be working out for us. I don't think that the object of the exercise is necessarily that we all always be comfortable and always have everything just go our way. We are made for that, but only if we understand how we are designed. If we understand how we are designed, the don't worry, be happy. Actually, you can't just don't worry, be happy. You need to be aware. Aware. Awareness needs to rise at the same time that your awareness of the importance of your state of being needs to rise. Wow. I'm going to have some moments. I have to get in there. I am going to have to feel this. I'm going to have to fully feel all my emotions, positive and negative, about this whole entire event. And then as soon as I have fully felt all of my negative emotions, then will I turn back to the world from a positive direction and be able to preach from a pulpit of hope and understanding, helping people how to get through this monstrous moment, you know. Well, first of all, me calling it a monstrous moment does not help. Oh, but I know a lot of people are going to feel the impact of this, the punch in the gut, and the fear based on reality, based on patterns of the past that you can feel at play, things analogous to one another. You can see the similarity, you can see the analogy, the metaphor, simile and analogy more than metaphor. Not metaphor, that's something different. You can see the sameness. You can see the difference too, but you can see the sameness. And so you gotta understand, this is a mythological universe. And the whole thing is vibrational. And it's powerfully important. For me, anyway, it is powerfully important to embrace the side of light and love and wholeness and integration and quantum field and the Almighty. And we are all in this together. And we are all in this together. And this just made us, as progressives, not dismiss all of the yuppies and yahoos. Or whoever. We have to take them seriously now because we just put them into power. Oh, so what was the genius thing that I thought of the other day? So Trump, you can tell that he does not feel the personal power of... So there's two forms of power. One power you get from... Now, this is kind of a duh. People are going to be like, duh. But I'm purely looking at this. I'm not looking at anything else. I'm just looking at this. And it's quite clear to me. There's two forms of power. One has to do with the conditions of what's going on from the outside, looking at it from the outside perspective. from outside of your inner self. You're outside, you're looking at it with your physical brain, you're looking at it with your physical eyes. It's not translating to your heart because you've got a disconnect there. We just elected King Watiko, is what we just did. President Watiko is who we just elected. And the interesting part about that is that it is now going to be a grand illustration for us all to view. As I speak, it's sort of like, visual aid number 1, and I'm just going to wave my hand, and there it is, and everybody can look at their own, and from wherever they are standing. In general, it's going to be playing out kind of like that, as our country Trumpifies. The organizations, this is going to be interesting to see whether there is a Trumpification of government organization. So what's my genius? I keep skirting up to it and then not actually saying it. You can so there's the two forms of the two ways to look at it. There's two forms of power. One is conditional power from the outside, and that's going to come from the scepter of the king or the staff of the pharaoh or the whatever the president would have. He liked the orb of the Turks. He liked that one. He wants to be king, and we just elected King Trump. And then we're going to have to... It's going to be interesting 4 years from now as we start talking to one another. The other kind of power comes from... Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. I call it my morning desert toad. Excuse me. The other kind of power comes from alignment. Alignment with your true vibrational self. Your true vibrational self, the one who is always here, even when your physical body passes, you will still be. And you won't just be the general field of it, you will still be your point of intention. You will still possess your individual spin is yours forevermore. And your spin gives you a perspective, an eye onto the world, if you will. Forevermore, for all eternity, you exist. That is yours no matter what. But you will come to realize that it is one eye in a universe of millions of eyes, all of them looking all over the grid and uploading their information of what they're seeing up to a wholeness that you also are and you also have access to. And the answer is not, when you recognize how great this allness is. We are directed. I don't know what the word. How do I say these words? The answer, the trick, the cool thing, the what to do, is not to sacrifice yourself. Do not sacrifice yourself for the whole, because you are the whole. Be yourself for the whole. And we're all going to be called to be our spirit selves in the years to come. Because what is going to change around us if we are not careful is the spirit. Because of the spirit of the party that we just elected to all houses of Congress is pretty damn... it's going to be very interesting to see the world and the economy that just got elected. And I don't know how I feel about it. I feel all kinds of crazy things about it, is what I feel about it. But we've got to watch the spirit, because our states of being, positive and negative, are the most important part of the equation. Mr. Spock was not wrong, was not right. Our emotions are not illogical. They are absolutely logical. And our negative emotion makes our physical brain illogical. It throws it out of alignment with actual reality. Your peaceful, loving, kind, allowing, non-fearful, joyful, hopeful, optimistic, eager, interested self is not concerned about what just happened, because she knows we need to understand this all the way down to the ground. We need to understand how good we are. How good we really are. And part of it is going to also teach us once again, how bad we can be. So how good we are and how bad we can be when we do not understand who we are. And from a physical standpoint, when you look at things from a physical standpoint, it's very easy to not include the field around you in the win. When your calculations are calculating the win-win position. Now, the king, he understands it to a point. He doesn't understand it from a field position, but he understands it to a point, and so he knows that he has to have henchmen, oligarchs, aristocrats, the dukes and barons and such, who are also benefiting from his reign, from him holding all the keys of power. And so he doles that out to his people. Who are we? This is just going to be so interesting. So interesting. How do we fight this? Well, how you fight it is you understand who you are. And you understand that even they are not the enemy. Our misunderstanding of our own psychological design, how we are designed. We think we can keep beating people, and we got a morale problem. We think we can just keep beating people, and eventually that morale problem will get better. Well, it won't. Not if what you actually want is for morale to improve. If you want to beat them into exhaustive submission, so that they keep the peace that way. And that's actually what the dark side ends up having to do, because it doesn't understand how the rest of it is in alignment. In actual fact, Trump himself is not our enemy. And if we got rid of him, we would get somebody worse, carrying the same vibration, maybe from an ideological standpoint. I would rather have Trump in a way than Tucker Carlson, because Trump, at least you can see exactly what he is. Other ones, it might be obfuscated as you agree with him about certain things. I don't know. A whole lot of people just elected the whole thing right wing. And good luck us ever getting power back. Because right wing doesn't, when it gets this power, it's an organizational thing. It's an organizational thing. There's like two forms of human organization. One organizes on spirit, and the other one organizes by law. We just elected the law and order guys. We just elected all of the law and order guys. And so we're going to get law and order, but we're going to get it at the expense of what? Freedom. They advertise themselves as the party of personal freedom. Well, it's going to be interesting to see whether that really stays true. And good luck. We're not going to get any Green New Deal. There's going to be no forgiveness of student loan debt. There's going to be... Oh, man, I hate to say those things. I hate to say those things. I wonder what is going to happen. So, what is my spiritual advice from my spiritual place? See, I have two places warring within myself today. Can you feel it? Can you feel it all day today? That I have not gotten as far away from myself as I usually do because of what has just happened. And I know that there is a relevance to the things that I say now that was not present yesterday. And in that sense, I mean, I got this placard on my dash. It's backwards, and I've been meaning to take a picture of it and show you what it looks like backwards. But when you put it on your dash and it reflects back to you, it reverses itself, and so you can see it straight. And it says, "Things are always working out for me." Now, I don't mean to say that things are always working out for me in the sense that, oh, the authoritarian dictator just got elected. Oh, look at the opportunity that I have now for my message to be put forward. That's really things working out for me. That's like William Shirer saying that because he's a journalist and he's getting ready to have the scoop of his life, that Hitler being elected was working out for him. So please, it's not. But you can work this from whatever position that you are in. The important part of it is plug into your source. Plug into your source. Stay positive. You stay positive. Don't let you looking at something negative be an excuse for you to be offering that negative vibration. You might be looking at something and you're offering a negative vibration and you're blaming it on the thing you're looking at. No, but frankly, you could bring a positive to anything, and Jesus was the ultimate example of that. Now, you might say, yeah, but he went and got crucified. Well, I always thought that the reason that he got crucified was not that anything had gone wrong, but he was trying to prove an even bigger point, which is, hey, we are not our bodies. We are this formless quantum field underneath that is the impetus of the physical field around us. And nothing can hurt you. Quit being afraid. Don't be afraid. Not the worst thing that the Romans can do to you, you could overcome that. Watch me do it. And maybe that's what the lesson of that was. Otherwise, he blinked. I have to think that the only reason that he got crucified is that for some reason he wanted to. That it was his intention to allow the Romans to do that to him so that he could show human beings a lesson in what is possible, who you are. If that's what happened. So I don't want to get too deep into this because I'm not really a Jesus scholar. Although my mother used to, you know what? The time of the law gives way to the time of the Spirit. And this was my mother's, she would try to tell me this about the meaning of the Old and New Testament. The Old Testament, in its talking about all these kingdoms and all these rules and what they thought God was and how they followed all these rules based on da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then it gave way to the New Testament being Christ ushering in the time of the Spirit. And for 2,000 years, this message has been percolating out in the bushes. In inaccurately, that's the word I'm thinking, inaccurately or incompletely carried forward by virtue of religions who themselves were co-opted by the local empire, and so the spirit of them kind of isn't exactly the same as what Jesus was saying. So now, this may be the time of the law is going to give way to the time of the Spirit, as people recognize that the law is not going to keep them safe from what is coming. The law, in some ways, is going to be the instrument of what their problem is going to be. You know, the secret police, or there's going to be our secret government is going to be less secret and more open, and we're going to see who we really are. Yikes. You know, I'm fear-mongering myself. I got to stop it. The answer to this is hold your ground. Keep your cool. All is well. It'll be fine. Keep your eye on the Spirit. Pay attention to how you feel. And if the thoughts that you're thinking about what just happened and what is going to be spin into a really dark place where you know, America is crumbling and we're all at each other's throats and we have a new 21st century Holocaust going on and da-da-da-da-da. If you start spinning it that way, yes, you're fearful and you're going to drag us right into that. And then you'll look at it and go, see, I was right, see, I was right. When in actual fact, you have to take this positively. Positively. Who are we? Who are we? And what are we going to do about this? What are we going to do about this? How do you, I have not had time to process. I have done the whole show trying to process, trying to get away from thinking about the physical consequences of this to me in my life. And I'm going to have to feel them. Positive and negative. And then after I've felt all of my negative emotions, then I will turn back to my positive self, who is not my physical being, by the way. And so ultimately, you know, she's not concerned at all because it doesn't even matter. Whatever, there's nothing that can touch who you really, really are. And who you really, really are is love and hope. Oh, you know what? Actually, my show becomes even more important. And I hope that it doesn't have to, things like this don't have to go underground. Because the answer actually is over unity. Over unity. Over unity devices are going to be the answer for all of humanity, including everyone who is living under an authoritarian dictatorship or anyone who is not living under an authoritarian dictatorship. You know? The answer is going to be free, clean energy everywhere. Free, clean energy everywhere. And us understanding that we are all in this together. You can't subtract... The Nazis tried to subtract the Jews. Well, I'll tell you what, you can't subtract the Nazis. What you do have to do is understand the phenomenon that you are witnessing. Because only in our accurate, clear, truth-based, physics-based, quantum field-based, spirit-based, inner being-based recognition of the phenomenon that you are witnessing, only by accurately understanding the field can you operate. It's like otherwise you're over here just like punching the air where the problem isn't, you know, while the storm rages to your right, you know, and you're whistling and dancing or whatever, trying to stop that storm, and you're completely not understanding its nature, your nature. Who am it becomes so much more important this morning even than it was yesterday morning. So if everything goes well, today is Wednesday, tomorrow is my training session, and it becomes even more important that I get this training session, because what I'm going to do is, starting Friday morning, God willing, and the river don't rise. What was I going to do on Friday? There was a question about an appointment or something that might happen on Friday. What is on Friday? Oh, no, nothing on Friday. So, since nothing's happening on Friday, if I get this all ironed out, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start streaming this. I'm going to start live streaming as I make the show. The live stream is going to be then downloaded to podcasts and my YouTube channel, Who Am I? And I'm going to learn a little bit about how to put myself out there. The station is Who Am I? The full name is Who Am I in the Field. I don't know if that helps you find me. If you're listening to me now, you've already found me, and God bless. I appreciate that. If you're listening to me on Friday, you probably got a hangover of epic proportions. I'm very sorry about what has just happened, but we're all going to have to get a little more unconditional if we want our conditions to improve. And I do want conditions to improve. I absolutely want conditions to improve. But ironically, in order for conditions to improve, you've got to approach it a little less conditionally and a lot more vibrationally, because that vibration is primary. It means it comes first. It precedes. It comes before the manifestation unfolds. And so if you want to get out ahead of what's happening, don't be watching the manifestation. That's people over on the dark side. They're watching the manifestation. They're trying to manipulate the manifestation from the outside, from the wrong side of it. If you go into so all you need to do, whoever you are, and just do whatever you're called to do, but do it from an interior position. Go into yourself, know that you are two selves, line those two selves up, your source and your individual self, line them up, and then do whatever you feel called to do from as positive a position as you can manage. Because if you're doing anything from a negative position, you are adding to the Shiva energy in the field. And I'm telling you, the Shiva, Loki, demonic energy in the field is getting quite high. The storm level on that side of the equation is getting high. The storm has developed to a particular, and we've got to get a positive momentum going with source on the other side of it. But what do I mean by that? It's just a preponderance of people out in the field who are in alignment with who they truly are and moving forward with the equation. Don't worry about the dark stuff, and please don't focus on it. Unless, if you feel obsessively called to look at some phenomenon, but then transmute it. Look at that negative, terrible thing that you're looking at and translate it into a better understanding of something, so that you can help relate it back to us, so that we can know ourselves, so that we don't do what we did last century in ignorance. Do you know how many people don't know what happened last century and don't realize it could happen again? And those of us who do understand what happened last century, we need to be saying something. But saying what? If you're just banging the drum of fear, getting people to be afraid and go act in your fear, well, that doesn't help either. You know, it was both people acting in their fear and their anger that threw us into World War last century. And we do not want that happening again. Even if it looks like those people are to blame, we are still all in this together. We are all in this together. We are all in this together. Some of the people I love most in this world. And that's, when you get past my very innermost core, which is just my children and my husband, and there really isn't anybody else. I don't see any. That's it. But then when you start adding in siblings and, well, actually, you know what? I can't get past my children either. The fact is that I have conservatives in my pretty small circle of people that I love most. And so the fact of the matter is we are all in this together. And there is only one way to move forward, and that is positive. Positive. You got to be positive. You got to be positive. I'm positive that we're in for it. Who am I? All right, so it wasn't a great show, but it was a testament to my reaction to what just happened. And I'm going to go in and rail at my husband for a bit here after I take a shower. I've got to vent. I have got to do something to vent some of my feelings about this, because I have worries about it from a ground level, but I will not be acting from any of those negative emotions. I will be feeling them. I gotta feel them. I gotta think about them. I've got to ponder them, muse them, taste them, and all of that. But I will not be acting on those. I will be acting on the position of we are all in this together. And the way forward has to do with our connecting to our source self. And that source self is connected to all of us, even those on the other side of the political spectrum, whatever side of the spectrum you happen to find yourself on. Your inner being is all over the place on this one. And there is a win-win-win-win-win position, and by golly jingies, I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find it for myself anyway, and if it contains anything helpful for all of us, I promise you, I will share it. So tomorrow will be a regular show. Hopefully Friday I am live streaming and podcasting and out there in the world. More important than ever, do I believe, is this question: who am I? Who am I? We need to get off fossil fuels before they drill the Songus forest. We need to understand who we are, and we need to understand now. So with that bit of gloom and doom, I promise you it will be all right. It will be all right. Things are always working out for us somehow. This is also true here. It is always darkest right before the dawn. And you know what? When our new day dawns, when we truly recognize who we are and what we are capable of, we are going to be the most blessed, amazing species ever seen on any planet. How about that? We could be. We absolutely could be. We are an amazing, amazing species. A created species, I think. And we'll talk about that more tomorrow. I am not a creationist. It's not that I believe in a supernatural God that twinkled his nose and everything came into being in the twinkle of an eye. I believe that God is a force, and God is an energy, and God is a stream of information and a connection, a relationship. Actually, God is the allness, the almighty wholeness, and there is a deep, mysterious, mystical meaning to that. There really is. It's all about organization. It's all about order. It's all about spin. It's all about light. It's all about love and gravity and energy and power and the holographic oneness that we all are. It's all about all of those things, and that's what's going to save us, by the way. We now just got a real big preamble of what what the exam is. But I'm telling you right now, love is the answer. Allness is the answer. A recognition of our matrixed collective relationship with one another is the answer. Understanding who we are and what we're capable of, good and bad, and how the alignments work, and what the problem is and what the problem isn't. We don't want to go in and fix a problem that doesn't exist. You actually exacerbate, you create a whole new problem when you do that. You know, I spent this whole time with the sun in my eye. And it's raining at the same time while leaves are falling. Ah, well. My show's going to get better. I'm going to have links embedded in as I go. Look for the new Who Am I come Friday, and I think the timing is exquisite. And until then, actually until tomorrow, because I'm going to do an old-fashioned show tomorrow, and if you're one of my fans, one of my 2 regular fans, people drop in, and from time to time, and I had a surge for a moment, and I do have 63 followers, and nobody's unfollowed me yet. We really are all in this together, and right now, in this divided moment, in this supremely divided moment, here in this nation, on this planet, this question, I think, is more important than ever, and you just go out there and do the best you can. We really are all in this together, whether it looks like it or not. And until tomorrow, please, go find your source. Know that she is always with you.